If you're getting ready to publish your first book on Amazon KDP, one of the biggest questions you're probably asking yourself is, how do I actually format my book? And it's a question that I hear all the time, especially as someone who's earned over 6 figures self-publishing. Plus, I run a community with over 1,000 authors and aspiring authors. Formatting is actually one of the topics that seem to come to me the most, and it does feel like it could be intimidating until you actually start digging into the tools that are available today. And the good news is that you actually don't need to spend hundreds of dollars hiring out the work to have somebody else format your book. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 3 low to no cost formatting tools that I recommend depending on the type of book that you're creating. So we're going to cover low content books like journals, coloring books, and traditional high content books like nonfiction, novels, and finally a more advanced option if you're looking to complete creative freedom over your books and your layouts. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what tool is going to be the best fit for your publishing journey. So first, let's kick it off with low content books, because these are some of the easiest books to format. And I'm talking about things like notebooks, journals, planners, coloring books, activity books. You know the deal. So anyhow, let's just take a look at those, because for these types of books, my favorite tool to go to is Canva. And chances are you probably have already used Canva before, and maybe you've designed things like social media graphics, presentations, thumbnails, marketing materials. If you have any kind of online business or presence, you're probably already familiar with what Canva is and what it can do. And that's one of the reasons why I recommend it, because the learning curve is relatively small. Let me show you how I would set up a project inside of Canva. So first, I'm going to click Create Design. Then I'm going to choose Custom Design. I'm going to go down and I'm going to enter the dimensions of my trim size. So if I'm doing a coloring book, I'm probably going to use an 8.5 by 11 because that's the most common that you would typically find on Amazon KDP if you're doing a planner, journal, etc. You want to make sure that you're matching the dimensions to what you're publishing on Amazon based on the trim sizes that Amazon supports. So once your document is created, you have a couple of different options. And if you're already designed your planner or coloring book images somewhere else, you can simply head on over to the upload section and just import those files directly to Canva. From there, you can just drag them right onto your page to start building your book. But if you haven't created any graphics yet, Canva has an enormous library of elements, shapes, icons, and design assets that you can use to create pages directly inside of the platform. And one thing that I always recommend is just avoiding the temptation to simply drag and drop one graphic onto the page and call it done. Instead, you want to make sure that you're combining multiple elements together to create something unique, whether you rearrange them, resize them, add in an additional design or own element that you created, because the more original your layouts become, the stronger your product will stand out. One feature that has become really interesting is Canva's AI tools. So let's say you're trying to make a coloring book and you find an image in the elements files that you absolutely love. And you want to be able to turn that image into a coloring book style image. Well, if you have a Canva Pro account, you can do this using the AI tools. And I think that's just a great way to actually create a custom coloring book image without the need to be a professional artist. So once you have one page done and you're happy with your layout, as you finish it, just make sure you go down to the bottom and click Add Page and continue building your book one page at a time. Now remember, Amazon KDP has a minimum page count requirement, so you'll want to have enough pages to qualify for a printable paperback. So for coloring books specifically, I would add blank pages between each illustration. That way, if kids are going to be using markers on pages, it will help reduce the bleed through and naturally increase your page count. Once everything looks good, it's time to export your file. And this is where a lot of beginners get confused, because you're not creating an ebook here, you're actually creating a printable interior file for a paperback. So instead of exporting as an EPUB, you're going to click Share, Download, choose PDF as your option, select Flatten for your PDF, and then if you're a Canva Pro subscriber, change the profile to CMYK because that's designed for professional printing. And honestly, it's that simple. Canva makes low content formatting incredibly easy. Now, one reason why I specifically recommend Canva only for low content books is because it isn't really designed to be a book formatting software, because something as simple as automatically adding page numbers isn't really built into the workflow the way it is with a dedicated book formatting tool. There might be workarounds in Canva that I'm not familiar with, but if you're just sticking with notebooks, journals, planners, using Canva is a great solution. But if you are going to be doing traditional books with lots of chapters and text, you're going to want something more designed for authors. And that brings us to the second tool that I recommend. And this is one of my personal favorites for high content books. The software is called Atticus. And if you've watched my channel before, you've probably heard me talk about it. Because whenever I'm formatting nonfiction books or text heavy books, this is almost always the software that I'm using. Now, just to be upfront, Atticus isn't free. It is a one-time purchase, and at the time that I'm recording this video, it's about $147. So there's no subscription to it. You just purchase it once and you own it, and you can use it over and over again. And the reason why I recommend Atticus so often is because it's incredibly beginner friendly. You don't need to spend weeks learning a complicated publishing tool. Most people can start creating professional looking books within an hour or two. So when you open a project, you're going to just enter your details about your book, like your author name, your book title, and other publishing information. But what I really appreciate about this is that it has some built-in templates. For example, it has a copyright page. You can also add acknowledgments and other sections in a click of a button that most professionally formatted books have. And Atticus gives you a great starting point that you can actually customize off of. And when it comes to adding your manuscript, it is really just straightforward. You create chapters, paste your content in, and you can use the formatting toolbar over at the top to bold your text, make things italic, add headings, do paragraph breaks, just like you might do in like Microsoft Word. So Atticus is a pretty smooth formatting process. Now, Atticus does allow you to add images, but this is where one limitation comes into play. If your book requires a lot of custom design or complicated layouts, Atticus probably isn't the right solution. You can insert images, resize them, align them to left or right, center, but you don't have advanced control over image placement or text wrapping. So for the vast majority of nonfiction books, this isn't going to be an issue, but it is something worth knowing before you purchase the software. Where Atticus shines is automation. So as your manuscript grows, the software automatically updates your page numbers, your table of contents, your organization within your book. And if you decide to add a new chapter in the middle of your book, everything will adjust automatically. You don't have to manually go back and fix page numbers or update your table of contents. Everything is just going to happen right there for you, saving you a lot of time and frustration, especially if you're working on multiple projects. So if you're enjoying this video so far and you want to learn more about self-publishing with Amazon KDP, marketing, growing your publishing business, I would love to invite you to my free school community. We have more than 1,000 authors and aspiring authors inside the community asking questions, helping each other grow, and it's completely free to join right now. Although I cannot promise that it's going to stay that way forever, so if you'd like to be a part of it, I'll leave a link in the description below. Hope to see you on the inside. Now let's talk about the third option, because this one is for people who want maximum flexibility. Let's say Canva feels too basic, but Atticus doesn't give you enough customization. Maybe you're creating a heavily illustrated book, a workbook, a textbook, or something with a unique layout that doesn't really fit into either category. So in that situation, you might want to look at Affinity Publisher. A lot of people don't even know that this software exists. I actually learned about it from a member inside of my publishing community. So while it isn't nearly as well known in the self-publishing world, it is an incredibly powerful desktop publishing program that gives you professional level layout capabilities. The really exciting part is that Canva actually owns Affinity, so it's becoming more accessible than ever. And unlike Canva, which is web-based, Affinity Publisher gives you more precise control over every element on the page, and you can create custom layouts, wrap text around images exactly how you want. You can build those complicated designs and essentially create anything you imagine. Now, here is my honest opinion. I don't personally use Affinity Publisher for my books. And it's not because I think it's bad, it's actually the opposite. I think it's an excellent piece of software, but the reason why I don't use it is because the learning curve is much steeper than something like Canva or Atticus. And for the types of books I publish, I simply haven't invested that level of customization and time into it to actually master Affinity Publisher for what I would like to try to achieve. But if you're someone who enjoys graphic design and you have the time to play around with it and create those advanced layouts, then it's certainly worth learning. All right, so just a quick recap of everything. Here's how I personally think about these tools. If you're creating low content books like journals, planners, coloring books, notebooks, Canva is probably going to be your best bet because it's easy to learn, it's inexpensive, and you're probably already using it in some capacity. And if you're creating traditional nonfiction books, novels, or other text-heavy books, I think Atticus is going to be one of your best investments because it's simple, easy to learn, and automates so many of the tedious processes in formatting that normally slow authors down. And if you crave complete creative freedom and you want customized layouts, Affinity Publisher is definitely worth exploring. You're just going to have to invest your time to learn how to use it. There isn't one perfect formatting tool. The best software is really just one that matches the type of book that you're planning to publish. And I'd love to hear from you down in the comments which formatting software you're currently using, or if you're just getting started and you're exploring which formatting tool to invest in. If you have any other tools that you would be curious about or you want to know about, I'd be happy to dig into that. So again, feel free to share that over there in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe, especially if you learned something here today. And again, just as a reminder, if you're not already in my publishing community yet, I'm going to drop that link below where you can find it down there. I would love to see you in there. And thanks again for watching this video. I hope to catch you in the next one.